You haven't subscribed to the channel yet? Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now let's go. I'd always thought Emily was the kind of woman who understood loyalty, but the doubt had started creeping in. My voice stayed calm, though my stomach churned. Did you just say you're going on a date with someone else? Emily crossed her arms, her gaze defiant. Yes, I am. Don't make this into a big deal, James. I need a night to feel something different. She noticed my face harden and a flicker of hesitation passed over hers, but she squared her shoulders. I love you, James, you know that. But right now, I need to know if this is it for me. So what choice do I have? I forced my voice to stay steady. You're determined to do this, so I'll be here, Emily, dealing with the fallout while you go and live whatever fantasy you think you're missing. I tried to let my words linger, but she was too caught up in her own world to notice. James, don't turn this into a fight, she said softly, lowering her eyes. I want us to be okay. Then stay, I raised an eyebrow waiting, but she didn't answer, and just like that, I knew she made up her mind. I could see it in the tension in her posture, the way her eyes avoided mine. She convinced herself this was her right. By Thursday, I'd moved my things into the guest room. The silence between us was thick, uncomfortable. It didn't matter if she was just one room away. It felt like miles. I ignored her questioning looks as I gathered my clothes and other belongings, barely speaking a word. Finally, she couldn't hold back. James, are you seriously doing this? Are you really going on this date, Emily? I responded, refusing to look at her, because if so, then yes, I'll keep to myself while you explore. Don't be ridiculous, she huffed, crossing her arms in frustration. But the silence afterward was answer enough. She had nothing else to say. On Friday morning, I left early, heading straight to the most exclusive men's salon in town. After a meticulous shave and haircut, I looked into the mirror at a new, sharper version of myself. In a shop next door, I picked out a sleek, dark blue suit and a pair of black leather shoes. I was ready to remind myself, and maybe even Emily, that I wasn't some doormat to be trampled over. After a quick stop to get my car washed, I returned home just as Emily was coming down the stairs. She dressed up more than usual, a new red dress that hugged her curves and heels that added inches to her frame. I didn't say a word, but she caught my gaze and paused, seeming almost unsure of herself. James, she started, her voice hesitant. Stave it. I interrupted coolly, picking up my keys. I have my own plans tonight. She blinked, taken aback. What do you mean? Exactly what I said, I replied, matching her surprised tone. If you're allowed a night out, then so am I. I picked up Kristen, a colleague I'd gotten to know recently. She was beautiful, with a warm smile that immediately put me at ease, and her laugh lit up the dimly lit jazz bar we went to. The night seemed to stretch on, easy and free, and I found myself laughing and forgetting everything else, even Emily's betrayal. On the dance floor, our hands found each other naturally. Her laughter blended with the jazz, and we moved in sync, the world fading into the background. Each brush of our hands, each sidelong glance, felt like a reminder that life didn't end with Emily. Kristen whispered something funny about the old couples dancing nearby, and her laugh was contagious. The spark was undeniable. I returned home around midnight, my shirt collar faintly scented with Kristen's perfume. Emily was waiting by the door, her expression a mixture of annoyance and uncertainty. She didn't meet my gaze directly. Where were you? She asked, her voice tinged with accusation. Out, I replied simply, not offering any more information than she had when she told me about her own plans. Her frustration flared. You could at least tell me who you were with. Oh, you don't feel the need to share your little friend's name with me. I shrugged nonchalantly. Why should I? For a moment, she stood speechless. I could see the doubt and insecurity simmering in her eyes, but she quickly masked it, forcing herself to stay composed. So did you have fun? She asked, trying to sound nonchalant but failing. Actually, yes, I replied, feeling a strange satisfaction in the admission. Turns out there are people out there who appreciate my company. Emily's face paled, but she tried to maintain her composure. James, you don't need to do this. I thought you understood that tonight was just something I needed. I crossed my arms, anger finally spilling over. You needed? You needed to betray me, Emily. Tell me, who was it? I'm sure he had a name. That's none of your business, she snapped, but her voice was trembling. None of my business. I think I have every right to know who I'm sharing my wife with, I replied, my words cutting sharper than I'd intended. Do you even know how absurd that sounds? Silence hung between us, thick with tension. Emily shifted uncomfortably, her defenses finally cracking. James, I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, and what's worse, you don't seem to feel bad about it. I turned away, feeling a strange numbness settle in. By the following morning, Emily had moved out of our bedroom entirely, as if trying to put distance between us might somehow mend the fracture she'd created. I'd made my decision too, and spent the weekend packing my essentials. It was clear that staying under the same roof was only deepening the wound. We were past words, only actions remained. Monday evening, as I was placing my bags by the front door, Emily walked in, her face stricken. "You're really leaving, aren't you?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," I said firmly. "I think we both need space, Emily. You can go find what you're looking for, and I'll be here figuring out what I want too." Her lips parted as if to protest, but she couldn't find the words. Her shoulders slumped and she looked defeated. Over the next few weeks, life adjusted to a strange new normal. Kristen and I grew closer, meeting often, and I found myself sharing things with her that I'd never shared with Emily. Her warmth was a balm, easing the pain that had settled in my chest. Slowly, life felt vibrant again. One evening, as we were finishing dinner at a cozy Italian place, Kristen reached out, touching my hand gently. "James, I don't want to rush anything, but I'm here for whatever you need." Her words felt genuine, not like a rushed fix, but like a steady offer of companionship. I squeezed her hand, grateful for the comfort she brought into my life. One rainy night, a knock echoed through my new apartment. To my surprise, I found Emily standing at the door, drenched and shivering. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small, uncertain. I hesitated, but curiosity won out. I gestured for her to come in. She sat down, glancing around the room that clearly no longer held traces of our shared life. "James, I don't know where to begin," she started, her voice choked. "I made mistakes, terrible ones, but I'm here because I want to make things right, if you'll let me." A part of me softened at her words, remembering the good times we shared. But another part of me was wary, hardened by her betrayal. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the conversation that lay ahead. "I don't know, Emily," I said. "I've been through a lot since you left, and I don't know if things can go back to the way they were." As she looked at me, her face a mixture of regret and hope, I realized this story wasn't over yet. As Emily sat across from me, my mind was flooded with memories. Late nights spent laughing, lazy Sunday mornings, countless shared dreams. Yet that was another life. Since her betrayal, everything had changed, and my heart had found refuge in the warmth Kristen had shown me. I met Emily's gaze, and for a brief second, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd once loved, the woman I thought would stand by me no matter what. "Emily," I began, keeping my voice as steady as possible, "you chose to walk away from us. You made that decision without me, and now you're here because—" My voice trailed off, leaving the question hanging between us. She clasped her hands together, her eyes never leaving mine. "James, I know I made a mistake, a terrible, foolish mistake," she said, voice trembling. "I thought I needed more, something different, but I see now that what I had was everything I ever needed. You were everything." The words should have been soothing, maybe even healing, but they felt hollow, an echo that arrived too late. I took a deep breath, searching for the right response, but it was hard to find words that could bridge the gap between us. "Emily, do you realize how much damage you cause?" I asked, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You didn't just hurt me, you shattered everything we built together, made me question everything I believed about us." She winced as if each word was a physical blow. "I know, James, I know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I'm asking for another chance to prove that I can be better." Her words hung in the air, hopeful yet desperate. But the truth was, while she'd been off seeking thrills, I'd been rebuilding my life. I thought of Kristen, of her laugh, her kindness, the way she picked up the pieces of me that Emily had broken. Emily must have noticed my hesitation because she leaned forward, desperation flashing in her eyes. "I know there's someone else now," she said, swallowing hard. "But James, we have a history. Don't throw it away because of one mistake." A surge of anger bubbled up within me. One mistake. You made that mistake repeatedly, Emily. You didn't stumble into betrayal, you chose it, and now you're here asking me to just forget. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. Emily's words had stirred something in me, an undeniable pull toward the past we'd shared. But I'd come so far, worked so hard to rebuild. I thought of Kristen and how she reminded me what it felt like to be valued, to be appreciated. I didn't want to lose that, didn't want to risk being hurt again. "Emily, I don't know if I can ever feel the same way about you. You broke something that might never heal," I said softly, almost to myself. Emily's face fell, but she pressed on. "Please, James, can we try at least? I'll do anything to make things right." Her plea hit a nerve. I'd always believed in second chances and people's ability to change. But what Emily had done wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice, one she'd made consciously, repeatedly. I glanced at the clock, feeling the weight of her gaze on me. "Let's just get through tonight without any decisions," I finally said, trying to buy time. "We'll see how things feel in the morning." She nodded, relief evident on her face. "Thank you, James, that's all I'm asking for." The next morning, I awoke with a heaviness in my chest. Emily had stayed the night on the couch, but her presence felt like a shadow over everything. Just as I was contemplating what to do next, my phone buzzed. It was Kristen. "Hey, James," she said, her voice warm but cautious. "I was wondering if you're free tonight. Thought we could grab dinner." I hesitated, glancing toward the living room where Emily was still asleep. Kristen sensed my pause. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern in her voice. "Yeah, just." "Emily showed up last night," I admitted, the words coming out in a rush. "She's asking for another chance." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "I see," Kristen finally said, her tone unreadable. "And are you considering it?" I rubbed my temples, feeling the weight of the decision. "I don't know, Kristen. I'm confused. I don't want to hurt you. You've been nothing but amazing to me, and you deserve the best." She let out a sigh. "James, I don't want to be the consolation prize. If you feel something for her still, you need to figure that out. I care about you deeply, but I can't be the other woman in someone else's story." Her words struck a nerve, and I realized just how much she meant to me. But she was right. She deserved clarity, not someone torn between two worlds. After hanging up with Kristen, I knew what I had to do. I walked back into the living room where Emily was now awake, sitting quietly, her eyes red from a night of restless sleep. "Emily," I began, taking a seat across from her. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and while I'll always care about what we shared, I don't think I can go back." She looked at me, pain flashing across her face, but she nodded slowly. "I understand, James." I knew it was a long shot, but I had to try. I reached over, taking her hand gently. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Emily. I really do. But for me, moving forward means leaving the past behind." She pulled her hand away, a mixture of relief and sadness in her eyes. "Thank you for being honest," she whispered, wiping away a tear. "I'll pack my things and be out by the end of the week." That evening, I called Kristen, unsure if she even wanted to talk to me, but she picked up on the first ring. "James," she said, sounding surprised but hopeful. "How did things go?" "Kristen." I told her it's over for good, I said, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. "I couldn't go back, not after everything. I want to move forward with you if you'll still have me." She was quiet for a moment, and I held my breath. "James," she said finally, her voice soft and filled with warmth, "I'd love that. But let's take it slow, one step at a time." Relief flooded through me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could truly breathe. Just as Kristen and I started to find our rhythm, life threw another curveball. A few weeks later, I was coming home from a late night at work when I found a letter wedged into my doorframe. It was from Emily. "James, I know we said our goodbyes, but there's something I need to tell you. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but you deserve the truth. If you're willing, please meet me at 6:00 p.m. at Coffee and Copper on Thursday. Emily." Curiosity gnawed at me. Despite everything, I felt a pull to know what she had to say. Maybe it was closure, maybe something else. I debated telling Kristen, but I didn't want her to feel threatened. This was a chapter I needed to close alone. Thursday came, and I found myself at the cafe, my mind buzzing with questions. Emily arrived a few minutes later, looking as nervous as I felt. "Thank you for coming," she said, sitting down. "I needed you to hear this." I nodded, gesturing for her to continue. She took a deep breath. "When I started seeing Kevin, it was because I was scared, James," she confessed, her voice cracking. "I was afraid of how committed we were, of how much I'd have to give up. I thought if I sabotaged things, maybe I wouldn't feel so trapped." Her words stung, but they brought a sense of clarity. This wasn't about me, it had never been about me. Emily had been battling her own fears, her own doubts, and while I wished she handled it differently, I could finally see the truth. "I don't expect anything from you, James," she finished, tears in her eyes. "I just wanted you to know that I'm working on myself. I don't want to be that person anymore." I leaned back, nodding slowly. "Thank you for telling me, Emily. I hope you find peace." As I left the cafe, a strange sense of freedom washed over me. I was finally ready to move forward completely, with no baggage.